From the snowy mountains of Vermont to the marble halls of Congress, one man has been courageously warning us for over 4 decades that America has been hijacked by an evil, faceless force, the oligarchy. You know, Bernie wags that finger and yells at us, and we're rapidly moving toward an oligarchic form of society. Yeah, that's right. Bernie, the self-proclaimed Democratic socialist who happens to own 3 homes and is worth a cool couple $1,000,000, wants you to know you're being oppressed by the rich. Wait, just not his kind of rich, of course. Let's take a stroll down memory lane with Bernie, shall we? The year 1992. Grunge is king. Bill Clinton is on the rise. And Bernie? Well, he's already been out yelling about oligarchy for a solid decade.
Where there are several 100 million people starving to death. They're starving to death right now. All over this country today, there is a certain demoralization. And the demoralization is that some people believe that what goes on in the White House and what goes on in the Congress reflects the will of the American people. And by assembling here today as the Rainbow Coalition and its other groups from 46 states in America, what we are saying very loud and clear is that Ronald Reagan and his billionaire friends do not represent America, but we do. In some of the largest cities in America, 50% of the kids are not graduating high school. The cost of college education in this country is zooming up, so you have to be a wealthy person to send your kid to college. There was once a dream that my parents had and many people's parents had, that if you work hard and go to school, you can get a college education. But what people like this gentleman do not know is, for example, that in Scandinavia, in Sweden, you've had socialist governments for decades, that in fact that country is probably in most respects more democratic than the United States. They have 80 or 90% of the people voting. They have strong labor unions. They have a more open media. They have a healthcare system guaranteeing healthcare to all of the people. Not to say that that's a utopia.
But at a time when the wealthiest people of this country have seen a tremendous increase in their income, while at the same time the standard of living of working people and poor people has declined, I will be damned if I will vote for a proposal which will stick it to the middle class and the working people. And Mr. Speaker, I've got a problem. I've got a problem with a president and a Congress which allows 5 million children to go hungry, 2 million people to sleep out on the streets, cities to become breeding grounds for drugs and violence. And they say, we're getting tough on crime. If you want to get tough on crime, let's deal with the causes of crime. Let's demand that every man, woman, and child in this country have a decent opportunity and a decent standard of living. Let's not keep putting poor people into jail and disproportionately punishing blacks. While our children go hungry and sleep out on the streets, lack adequate health care or educational opportunity, the wealthiest people in this country have grown far richer while their tax burden has declined.
Bernie on the floor. He looked a little different back then. He still looked old, don't you think? Notice anything? No new ideas. No fresh solutions, just more yelling. Honestly, Bernie's been more consistent than most marriages. If shrieking oligarchy were an Olympic sport, he'd be a 5-time gold medalist. Sadly for Bernie, it's not. And sure, the Cold War ended, but the Soviet Union collapsed. We put a man on the moon twice, but Bernie, he's still shouting into the void. It's just almost unbelievable. Well, he's a millionaire prophet of doom. You know, here's where things really get rich, literally. In 2016, Bernie made headlines hammering millionaires and billionaires until someone reminded him that he was now a millionaire.
And let the top 1% understand this. There is something profoundly wrong when the top 1/10 of 1% owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%, and when 99% of all new income goes to the top 1%. This grotesque level of inequality is immoral, it is bad economics, it is unsustainable. This type of rigged economy is not what America is supposed to be about. This has got to change. And as your president, together, we are going to change it.
Bernie rails against the top 1%, but billionaires suddenly become the villain of choice? You think that's a coincidence? No. It's just a simple case of moving the goalposts so he can still look like the underdog while flying first class. Now, it's like Robin Hood in a way, don't you think? Complaining about rich people while eating caviar on his yacht. Bernie became what he spent a lifetime warning us about and never skipped a beat. And he kept screaming oligarchy. When Bernie goes on tour, you'd think he's fronting a punk band named the Oligarchs Are Coming. Then he goes up on the road show, teaming up with that brilliant scholar AOC, and they deliver their sermons like it's the end of times for capitalism. Hey, here's a spoiler alert. The only thing ending is your paychecks when their tax hikes hit. But the real kicker? These rallies are funded by and attended by the very liberal elites they claim to be fighting. It's like a vegan steakhouse. It doesn't make sense, but it draws a crowd.
Your presence here today, and by the way, there are some 36,000 of you, the largest rally that we have ever had.
Now let's talk about the real oligarchy, shall we? How about unelected bureaucrats in D.C. regulating your life into oblivion? Tech companies censoring your voice if you dare to step outside the progressive narrative. And guess who's totally fine with that? Bernie. Because when conservative voices get silenced, it's not oligarchy, it's progress. America's not an oligarchy. It's a republic that Bernie and his crew want to turn into a government-run permission slip for life. You'll own nothing, eat bugs, and like it, so long as Bernie's still yelling at billionaires on C-SPAN. You want irony? Bernie's made a career out of telling us the system is broken while enjoying every perk of that system. Congressional pension? Check. Book deals? Check. 3 homes? You know it. Meanwhile, hardworking Americans are struggling to make ends meet, while Bernie blames every problem on the 1%. But hey, he's one of the good guys, right? How dare you question my lake house? I bought it with book money. Sure, Bernie. Absolutely. We believe you. We trust you, Bernie. Well, let's do a MAGA versus Bernie reality check, shall we? Here is the difference. MAGA believes in you. Bernie believes in the government. MAGA says you should own your future. Bernie says the government should redistribute the wealth. MAGA wants to drain the swamp. Bernie feeds it. So next time you hear Bernie Sanders yell about oligarchy, remember, it's not a warning. It's a brand, a 40-year political product wrapped in finger-wagging and funded by the very elite he pretends to fight. America, we don't need another angry millionaire yelling at clouds. We have enough of those. America needs freedom, patriotism, and power back in the hands of we the people. That's what MAGA is all about. So, what do you think? Let's keep this conversation going. Let's hear your side of things in the comments.